It will start recording. In network topology, what we do is we describe the network in form of graphs. Okay. So let us take the case of some simple example. Say that I have a network which looks like this. Okay, so this is a network, right? And if I want to convert this to a graph representation, normally let's say I have a network like this and I have a bunch of resistors R1, R2, R3, R4, okay, and I have some supply voltage. Supposing I want to find what are the voltages and currents in this network, then the normal procedure I would just follow is I know that I can use either mesh analysis or loop analysis, node analysis. Where this comes from Kirchhoff's voltage law, this comes from current law. Okay, any one of these can be used to find out what are the values of voltages and currents. I can first define that there is some current I1 in this, uh, and then I can say that there is some current I2 over here. That is one way to do it. Or I can try to find out what is the voltage. There's a voltage drop across here, and I know that the sum of the voltage drops across this network is across any mesh, around any mesh, is zero. So this is the standard way that we would do some kind of analysis. But sometimes the networks can get very complicated. When we are doing this on pen and paper, these are very small networks. I have a few resistors, capacitors, inductors. But when I'm solving the real networks, that means I'm going into the industry and I'm simulating large circuits, right? Where I have hundreds of transistors, thousands of transistors, and even the smallest component of these circuits can be very complicated. So there it is not possible to actually come up with a simple way of solving things by hand, and many times you have to do it as a computer simulation. So when you do a computer simulation, then you have to have a way of the computer understanding the network. For example, you have worked on the simulation using Spice. In Spice, what happens is you just draw this network on the Spice software, and then it automatically captures what are the values of the voltages and currents, right? So when it gives you the values of voltages and currents, it tells you in terms of nodes. It starts assigning, right? It says, I will not simulate until you put a ground. That means there is some reference node. We'll call it 0. Then you start assigning node numbers 1, 2, 3, and so forth. And similarly, you have branches. So any network can be represented as a graph for the purpose of analysis. Now, if I want to represent this network as a graph, then what would I do? Basically, every element that I have, either a resistor or a active source, every element will be replaced by a straight line, okay, and that is called a branch. And two branches will connect where there is a node. So these points 1, 2. So one is like the intersection of this voltage source and a resistor. So that is a node, okay, a point which is connecting multiple branches, and each of these will be a branch. So the equivalent graph of this would be, I'll take one. Let's just do it underneath. 1, 2, 0, 3. So I have the nodes number 0, 1, 2, and 3. And what are the branches? I have a branch connecting 0 and 1. I have a branch connecting 1 and 2. I have a branch connecting 0 and 3, 2 and 3, and then another branch connecting 2 and 3. Okay. Now, normally, what we would say is that if you draw in this representation, you can see that with just two nodes, 2 and 3, actually I have two branches connecting them. So if I wanted to solve this mentally, then I would just say that there are two resistors in parallel, and I can replace these two branches by just one branch, right? What is the value of one branch? The value of that element would be R2 in parallel with R4, R2 R4 by R2 plus R4, right? So the point is that when you draw, if you remove all these elements and you remove all these sources, it's very easy to visualize what is my underlying network. Okay, we see many standard topologies when we are solving the various networks, throughout the course as we are solving it, and we went through all these various two-port networks, and we saw some standard topologies, right? What were those? For example, what was this one? So we saw the T network, and we saw pi network. So there is a T network which had some element like this. We used it for our Z parameters, and we said that any Z parameter, any two-port network in terms of Z parameters can be represented by this. Similarly, we this is T network. What is this one called?
Pi network.
Okay. What about this one?
T bridge.
Good. Similarly, you can also have networks just like the T network on top. If I wanted to extend it, then I could call it as a ladder network. Okay. That means I have one component like this. Now, if I just take the same thing, which is this thing, and I just paste it and keep adding it, and then take another element and keep adding it. So this is called a ladder network. Okay. So this is like an interconnection of various, you know, common sections where you just keep stacking it, and then as you keep cascading them, you get what is known as a ladder network. So these are all very standard topologies. The reason why we say this is standard is more or less you keep, when you work on various networks, you find that they keep appearing. And when like in terms of Z parameters, Y parameters, it's very easy to solve these networks. That means when you get complicated networks, then what will happen is you will be able to resolve it in terms of these smaller elements. That's what we did for the two-port networks. Okay. Another very standard one is the Wheatstone bridge kind of network. So that is also called a bridge network. Right? We saw this in our IC 161. What was this for? Full wave rectifier, right? And otherwise also you would have come across this Wheatstone bridge. So all of these are various networks. The reason why we draw them as boxes like this is to say that it doesn't matter. You can have an inductor, you can have a capacitor or a resistor, any linear element. In the end of the day, these are all lumped circuits, and you can replace each of these elements by a branch, and then the interconnection point is what you call as a node. And thus you are able to do these various kinds of analyses of these networks. Okay. So before going into too much detail, like since this is the first class, what we'll do is we'll look at some of the topological properties. For example, any network, okay, any network that can be represented on a sheet of paper, that is like on the screen over here, without any intersections, is called a planar network. Okay, so for example, let us consider say this pi network. If I want to represent the pi network by a bunch of nodes and branches, then how do I represent it? Basically, I have one node here because this is the intersection of two elements. I have one node here because it is the intersection of two elements. And what about the bottom? I can take any point as some node. Okay. So if I wanted to represent this pi network as a graph, then what is the graph equivalent? I have three nodes. So this is 1, 2, and let's call the 0 because it's like say it's the ground node, some reference node. Then basically there is a connection between 0 and 1, 1 and 2, 0 and 2. So you can see how the topology has, given you a different view of it. You saw this as a pi network. What you observed as a pi network is basically nothing but a triangular topology. Okay. So what does the word, topology mean? It basically means that you can represent the network. The network is unaffected, whether you stretch it or you twist it or distort it. It doesn't matter. Visually, the appearance may change, but the fundamental property is you have some set of nodes which are connected to each other by branches. Okay, and this is the important point. So let us consider some cases. Let's say I have a network which looks like this. Okay, and I have some different nodes. Okay, and these nodes are connected by some branches. Now the same network I can represent like this. I have A, okay. Can you see that these two are equivalent? A is connected to B. Okay, A is connected to B over here. A is connected to C. A is connected to C. And A is connected to D. A is connected to D. C is connected to D. So basically you see that there are the same set of connections. Okay, and A is connected to B from the outside. So this network, this topological properties, why they are very important is that the way you visualize networks, your mind registers certain shapes and properties. So you automatically try to understand the networks in terms of some subcomponents. So supposing I draw some big complicated network, when you are solving it like by hand on paper, then you may say that, oh, I can see that this part of the network is actually a T network, or I can say that this part of the network is a pi network. And I know, for example, from Z parameters or admittance parameters, how to quickly solve these simple sections. But when the network gets complicated, then it becomes very difficult to visualize. It would have been very, no one would guess that these two are actually the same thing. Connections are all exactly the same. But when you put it in Spice or some program like that, then the program automatically, it does not know what about shape and all that. It just knows that there are nodes and there are branches. So the bottom line is, in the end of the day, if you know that there are certain nodes in the network, if you have identified them correctly, and the branch connections between the networks, then it's very easy to come up with a set of mathematical equations to describe this network. Okay. So is everybody
Sir, I
following?
think this, yes, sir. So, sir, I think this Wheatstone bridge and this triangle are also same.
Wheatstone bridge and triangle.
Yes, sir. That below triangular thing, ABCD one. Yes,
ABCD.
sir.
Yeah.
These two are also
So
same.
you can see that here, supposing I put ABCD in the Wheatstone bridge. So let's take A. A is connected to B, C, and D, right? Let's
Yes, sir.
see. Yeah, this would be the Wheatstone bridge if there is a connection over here. This has to be connected. Then it will be equivalent to that. You understand? Then this would be A. This would be B. Then you will have C and D. So A is connected to C, A is connected to D, B is connected to C and D. C and D are connected to each other, but you need A and B to be connected to each other also in this circuit. Okay, so that would have to be here, and that's possible, yes, in the Wheatstone bridge. So if I have some voltage source or something connected here, that can be represented by a branch. So in this way, basically, you can see how that these different standard networks can be represented by a topological description. Okay, so one of the important things why you need this, supposing I give you this Wheatstone bridge kind of system, then supposing I wanted to solve it, right? Normally, if I've drawn this network, I have drawn it in terms of nodes and branches. But let us say that in this place, I had, where is the eraser? Let's say in this place, I had a voltage source. Then again, it's back to the same KCL, KVL. That means I have to find out what is the current flowing in this loop or what is the sum of voltages in this. And that way, gradually you can find out by bunch of mathematical equations how to find out what are the currents and voltages in each loop, right? So current in each loop and voltage at each node. Now, this is easy when you're able to visualize these networks. So there is a class of networks which are known as planar, and the other one is non-planar. This is what I started off discussing, that planar means you can draw it in 2D without any intersections. So supposing I draw something like this. This is a planar network, okay? That means every branch which is connecting two nodes is doing so without, uh, one second, somebody is trying to join. Okay, so every branch that is connecting two nodes is doing so without crisscrossing across any other branch, okay? So this is a planar network. Let's consider the same network, and now I add some more lines. Is this a planar network? Basically, what is the definition of a planar network? A planar network is that network in which no branch crosses across another branch. Okay, there is no crisscrossing. That means I can represent this in 2D. Now, if I consider this, here also there is no problem. It is a planar network. I have 4 branches and the 5th branch is connecting two opposite nodes. But now what about if I add one more branch? Is this a planar network or not?
Oh, sir, it is not a planar.
Why not?
Because it is crisscrossing now.
Correct. So when you visually see that two branches are crisscrossing, then you have to question whether it's a planar network or not. But actually in this case, it can still be a planar network. The reason for it is I can do one thing, which is I remove this branch and I just draw it from outside. Now is it a planar network? No problem, right? There is no crisscrossing.
Sir, but I think it is not a planar because it can be drawn in another way by just putting a wire between these two nodes, and it will
No.
crisscross the other
So
diagonal.
that is the thing. Any network, for it to be planar, any network, for it to be non-planar, there has to be compulsory crisscrossing. This network doesn't have compulsory crisscrossing. I'm still able to express it without crisscrossing. As long as I can express any network without crisscrossing, it is planar. Okay. The only time it is non-planar is when I don't have a choice at all. So right now you are saying I can draw it as crisscrossing or non-crisscrossing. So this is like projection, right? You studied in your engineering graphics. I have a 3D and I want to project it on a 2D plane. I have a 3D object and I'm projecting on a 2D plane. So in a sense, you can say this is a 3D object. Initially, what I drew was, I said that there is one line here and then there is a second line which has to go on top of it. Now this is purely 2D, right? Because it is just fitting on a plane perfectly. And if I had put just one line like this, that is also still 2D because it is perfectly sitting. You're seeing the 2D projection. So the 2D projection is not crisscrossing. Now, when I take something like this, where the line is jumping across, then it appears like this is no longer 2D because there is one line on top of another line. So this is clearly a 3D object. But because it is just a wire, a branch, that can be stretched around and still converted to 2D. So this is still a planar circuit. Okay. Supposing we take a system that looks like this, a network that looks like this, and say that I have something that goes from here to here and something that goes from here to here. Okay. Is this planar or non-planar? What do you say? This is still planar because I can do this. Is everybody following so far?
Yes.
Now, the same thing which I had like this, and let's say I have something going like this. Say I have something going like this. Then once you bring in many of these points, then you may find that that network cannot be planar anymore. So these kind of things will come up. The issue is that what we are trying to get at is, as long as I can make a network planar, then I can mentally solve the problem. Mentally means I still have to use pen and paper, but I can say that I have individual loops, right? These are meshes. Remember, we did mesh analysis. So I am able to define a bunch of meshes. So I can do mesh analysis. Once the network gets very complicated, it becomes difficult to do mesh analysis because it's very difficult to keep track on, which one should I consider as a mesh. So in these situations, it becomes easier to use network topology. That means if you are able to express every network in terms of its nodes and branches, then it becomes much easier to express these mathematical equations corresponding to these networks. Okay, so you have standard topologies which you can easily do, and then you may have complex topologies which you cannot express in terms of standard topologies. At that time, you have to come into this topological analysis. Okay, So for topological analysis, there are a few definitions that you have to keep in mind. The first is that we talked about what is branch, and we talked about a node, and we said that the set of branches and nodes gives you what is known as a graph. Okay. A graph is said to be connected if it has something like this, like all the nodes are connected to each other. Otherwise, you can have disconnected graphs also, but usually we do not work with those. That means you have a graph that looks like this. So this is a disconnected graph because you're having two different graphs, right? They're not connected to each other. Similarly, every graph, connected graph, now I motivated all this by saying that we are going to do analysis of currents and voltages. Now we'll step away from that for a bit. We'll just look at basic definitions. And after we understand all these definitions, we'll be able to figure out how they come into the network analysis. Okay. So now, for now, forget about the currents, voltages, and all that, and just go into the graph theory. So we have branches and nodes. We know that any element that I have, either active element or passive element, I convert to a branch. The intersection between two branches is a node. And then I can have a connected graph. Fully connected graph means every node is connected to every other node. I can have what is known as a subgraph. That means if I have something like this, so this is the connected graph, and then it can have a subgraph. So a subgraph can be this. For example, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I can have a subgraph which has, say, 1, 2, which is just like this. So this is a subgraph. It is a part of the original graph, and this is known as a subgraph. Okay. Now, there are some definitions to keep in mind. That is, the first is, what is a tree? Okay. A tree is a subset of any graph such that all the nodes are connected only once. Okay. That means you use it. It takes the minimum number of connections to cover all the nodes. So let us say that I have two nodes. What is the minimum number of connections to connect two nodes? One branch. Right. So if I have to have this above graph, like where I drew this connected graph over here, then what is the tree for it? Can you tell me what is the tree? What is the set of connections that will form a tree? So right now I've labeled the nodes, right? Let me also label the branches as A, B, C, D, E, and F. So tell me which set of branches will form a tree?
A will form a tree.
So here is a hint. See, this is the connected graph. I'm trying to form a tree. I showed a subgraph. Interestingly, the subgraph that I happen to draw is a tree because I'm connecting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All the nodes are connected with the minimum number of branches. Right? So I have a tree over here. Is that clear?
So, sir, the branches F, B, and E. So, are these also tree?
F, D, and E.
Yeah, B, E, and F.
B, E, and F. B, E, and F cannot be a tree by itself because the node number 3 is missing. If I use only B, E, and F, if B means I'm connecting 1 and 2, okay? E means I'm connecting 5 and 4. F means I'm connecting 2 and 4. Still 3 is left out. So I need B, E, F, and either C or D. So let's go back to the drawing. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can have B, F, E, and I need to connect this node number 3. So I should have either D or C, any one of them. So let's say I take D. Then this is a tree. This is correct. So for the same set of nodes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is also a tree. This is also a tree. Both are trees, right? Because you can have multiple trees. There are different configurations that ensure that all the nodes are connected. No node should be left out. So this is also a tree. So what are the various trees that you can form with this? Can you tell me the combinations of trees? So following the same pattern, I would say this is A, E, D, C. So come on, tell me some combinations of trees now. A,
B, C, D, E.
B, C, D, E.
E.
Let's check it out. B, C, D, E. Correct. B, C, D is correct.
And sir, A, B, F, E will not be a tree, right?
A, B, F, E.
Yes, so it will not be a tree.
B, F, E. Yes, it will not be a tree. What else do we have? I wrote A, D, C over there. Here I have
Sir.
B, F, E, D.
A, B, C, D.
A, B, C, D. Yes.
Or any subset of this will also be a tree, like AAD or EDC.
A subset of which one?
Like for the first one, AEDC, so we can say AED can be a tree, EDC can be a tree.
No. Because a tree means every node has to be connected by the minimum number of branches. So when I say that
means
my tree and every node is connected, then if I remove any branch, that node becomes disconnected. So it cannot be a tree. Understand?
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Got it. Yes, sir.
So that means there is an important property here. If I consider two nodes, see what is the pattern you're noticing here? There is a pattern over here. The pattern is that no matter what combination you write, there are always 4 branches. Did you see that? There are always 4 branches. We never formed a tree. Yes, exactly. So if I have 2, then the shortest path is 1. Now if I want to add one more node, then I can either connect this or I can connect this. Any one is possible. But I need one more branch. If I add one more node, then the possibilities are either this can connect, or this can connect. But for the tree, I need any one connection. So whenever I have n nodes, the tree will have n-1 branches. Because
And
these
sir,
are
if I want to calculate how many possibilities of there are there, so it will be 5C4.
yeah 5C4.
So it will be 5 for the above case.
Should be 5. Yes, you can work it out and see.
Okay, sir.
So because these are branches of a tree, they have a special name. They are called as twigs. Okay. You know what's a twig, right? In English, twig is like a branch only. It's like a smaller branch, a small piece of wood. So this is all using the tree analogy. So normally you call it as branches, but when you say the word twigs, then usually you refer to the branches of a tree. Okay, it has a special property. So let's stop here. This is just a brief introduction to network topology. So what I said today is normally you can have very complicated networks. If you have very simple networks that look like this, then you can use mesh analysis or node analysis, Kirchhoff's voltage law or current law, and you can solve individually on pen and paper. Now, when you go to more complex networks, then usually what happens is it is seen in nature in electrical engineering that many times you find these kind of topologies appearing like T network, pi network, bridge T network. So somebody who's working in this area extensively, you can quickly reduce it in your mind. You can see some complicated network and figure out, oh, this is a T network, there is a pi network, and even then you can solve it. But once you go into more complications, like either this star delta kind of combination, which looks like this, and which is a Wheatstone bridge, it may become difficult to figure out mentally, and there you start running into trouble when you want to do analysis. Further, when the networks become more complicated, that means you have non-planar networks. Planar networks you can represent in 2D, and it's easy for me to visualize what is the smallest mesh over here, what is the mesh over here, what is the mesh over here. But when I see this kind of network, it becomes difficult to visualize. So at some point you have to transition from pen and paper to computer, or you need to have some very standardized procedure of solving these networks. So that is where we come up into this concept of using branches and nodes. Okay, so then you represent every element by a branch and every intersection by a node, and you form a graph. And using the graphs, you basically come up with various properties like how to define what is the tree and all of this. This is a slight deviation, but when we finish it in the next class, you will understand what's going on. That how I can utilize the concept of trees and other properties of networks to come up with Kirchhoff's current laws and voltage law. Okay, how to come up with those equations. For example, now I'm saying that this is a tree, but there is something called a co-tree. So there is a co-tree. That means a co-tree is equal to original graph, the original network, whatever you had, minus the tree. Okay. So if I say that this is the tree, then the set of branches which are missing here, they together form the co-tree. So tree plus co-tree gives the original connected graph. So these kind of interesting concepts will come up, and then you will figure out that if I use one element of a co-tree and some elements of a tree, I can form a loop. So this is like using topology, there is a formalized way of how you can come up with equations. Finally, in the end of the day, we are trying to come up with simultaneous equations. If there are n unknowns, then how many equations do I need? I need so many equations. The unknowns are either the voltages or the currents. So that's what we are doing here as network analysis. Okay. So let's stop the recording here.